So a couple days ago, I created a short, and that short was about a vehicle that I was intending on purchasing. This is actually a 2014 Cadillac ELR. If I'm gonna be very honest with you, if you would ask me 2 weeks ago, I would not have been able to tell you what an ELR was. But at first glance, and I'm not talking about in person, I'm talking about on the internet, I just had to have this car. I have about an hour and 20-minute commute each way. And so I do have a Porsche hybrid, but it gets around 36 to 38 miles to the gallon, which isn't bad for a car with a supercharger and 420 horse. But it still takes premium gas, which still costs me anywhere between $400 and $600 a month with my commute. I do have a Tesla, which I did enjoy driving for a few years until my wife confiscated it. And now she owns it, and that's just out of the equation. But rather than go electric, I actually prefer hybrid. And that's coming from someone who has owned a Tesla for 3 or 4 years. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. My Model S has given me no issues. In 5 or 6 years, I think I put maybe $1,200 into it, okay? My suggestion is before you buy any car, I don't care if it's a Honda, Toyota, if it's a Cadillac or Chevy, do your research. And somebody like myself, I spend ample amount of time doing research before I buy a car. Now, that's going to sound a bit hypocritical because I told you I didn't know what this ELR was 2 weeks ago. And I guarantee you, I spent a week reading every review, every report that they made on this vehicle, from Jay Leno's segment to owners who have had it since 2016. I know everything about this car essentially, and that's why I decided to buy it. Now, this thing is built on the original Volt platform. Obviously, it does have a little bit more oomph being a Cadillac. They did upgrade the motors on this, and it actually does have higher output with the battery. That being said, don't be mistaken. This thing gets every bit of gas mileage, or at least mine does, as what I've seen with some of the Chevy Bolts. I will show you this later, but there is like a lifetime calculation of how much mileage this thing has gotten. Average is 59.6, and that's with 80,000 miles. I think that's exceptional. To go from a car to get 30, 36 miles to the gallon to go to a car that gets almost double that, listen, you ain't hearing no complaints from me. And then today was actually the first time that I actually got to fill up the tank. Again, this does require premium, as do most Cadillacs. But guess what? It was $30 to fill this thing up. And $30 gave me 267 miles of range, which, if you understand what a hybrid is, actually a lot more, because the motor actually goes for about 25, 30 miles on just electric. I tested that theory. I charged it to about 22, 24 miles, and I actually was able to drive 50 minutes on just the battery. So the information I'm giving you today is my experience, and again, it's only been a week, but I've listened to a lot of people talk online about some of the quirks. I've listened to a lot of people online talk about how beautiful it is, and I'm here to kind of address some of those things that I experienced. Now, appearance. Let me tell you, stunning. When I saw this thing in person, I went to the dealer. I said, listen, I have to have it. This is a beautiful car. The stance is aggressive. It's a Cadillac, but you still, look at the lines. You still can see how this was a Chevy Volt with how it's streamlined, but this is the ultimate in luxury. Now, the biggest issue with this was back in 2014 and 2016, the price tag was ridiculous. You're talking about $72,000 base. If you add options, it costs more. But I'm gonna be honest, after someone who has driven this car, hindsight is 2020, but it was worth every bit of the $70,000. Everybody at my job has pulled me over trying to figure out what this thing is. Not only that, you almost have to push people away with the amount of compliments you get about how beautiful this thing is. I have a shuttle driver that I, 2-3 times a day, and every day he is asking me, man, I love this car. And again, that's not why I got it. I got it for practicality. but it's nice to have practicality and beauty at the same time. Like many of you out there, I'm sure when the first Priuses came out, you asked yourself, why did it have to look like that? So at this point in my life, I like a little bit of luxury. I like to be different. And this right here, my friend, is very different. It debuted in 2009 in Detroit, and it was a concept car at one point. And then they brought this thing to life in 2014. There are people that say there's a 2015 version. There is not. It actually skipped 2015 and went to 2016. As of now, what I'm reading, there were only 2,955 that were made that were actually sold. There are conversations about there being around 3,000 made, which means there are some new Cadillac ELRs somewhere that the dealer never sold. They struggled to sell these because of the price tag. But again, I'm going to give you my opinion. I own a Tesla 2016 Model S all-wheel drive. When I got that vehicle, let me explain something to you. It was the best thing since sliced bread. I laughed driving past a gas station. All my jobs had chargers. I have a charger at home. And so therefore, not paying for gas for 4 or 5 years, best thing ever. But let me explain something to you. To compare that body, that shape, to what the 2016 Model S looks like, not even close. The lines, the curves, the design, the aggressive grille, the wheels. This thing actually shames my 2016, and this is a 2014, and again, that's my opinion. This is a beautiful car, and I would have willingly paid the $72,000 if I had it back then with just a test drive. So you look at the curves, you look at the design, right? Beautiful car. Now, there are a lot of issues that people have speculated with the Q system, okay? I'll admit, my first day driving this thing home, the Q system was acting up a bit. But I think it's more because this car sat at a dealer and the 12-volt battery may have been a bit wonky. Now, again, I've driven this car 2 or 3 days. I drive 3 hours a day, and I have had no issues at all with the Q system. Outside of the first day, it was going on and off, kind of blinking, starting. And I actually looked online. I did see people who similarly had that issue, but I have not had that issue since the first day. And as of now, I'm just going to throw it out there that maybe it was the fact that the car sat at a dealer in the back waiting for a taillight to be replaced for so long. But again, I haven't had it long enough to justify it. Now, the wonderful thing, here's your charge port here. Right, that's your charge port. But I want to bring to your attention these mirrors. Okay, now this might not mean much to you, but as somebody who loves cars, this you'll understand. So when you charge this thing up, this light's green. It stays green. This light's green, the other mirror light's green, and that center light's green. Let me tell you, it's a beautiful thing. You can tell that when they engineered this thing, they wanted it to be a step above the rest. Now, Tesla has this also in their charge port. If you own a Tesla, the charge port actually lights up while it's charging. You'll see it blinking. Well, what this does is it stays steady green, and then once it finishes charging or it's about to finish charging, that green will start to blink. And then eventually, after it stops blinking, it'll shut off completely, letting you know that it's fully charged. Again, might not mean anything to you, but to someone who loves cars, it's great touch. Now, when you first open up the car, you can see here, no door handles. Everything's electric. The inside has a no door handle also. It's electric push button. That's how it opens. So similar to the Tesla, because it's a coupe, when you open the door, that window is going to go down, okay? But I'm going to try to do this as quickly as possible. I want you to watch the dash on this light up. Well, it's not doing it. It is a digital display. It must be telling me to charge the vehicle. But when you first enter into the vehicle, the Cadillac embossment actually comes across there and the Q system starts to activate. Obviously, I'm recording this, so it's not going to operate the way it should, but that's how it typically does. It makes like a a noise, almost like a steady C noise, and then Cadillac actually goes across the screen. Q system operates Cadillac system, and then it starts on. So it didn't do it for me now. It must want me to plug it up. It initializes. Okay, that's your EV range on this side. This is your tank miles or whatever your fuel on this side. And this is actually your Q system. Okay, now let me tell you something. A couple things that I've noticed. I love the carbon fiber. Love the carbon fiber. Okay. The other thing I love is with this Q system, you don't have to touch it. As soon as you actually get near it, no touching. As soon as you get near it, it detects your fingers and automatically pulls up the Q system. Now, it does have a home button here, right? And I press that home button and it takes you to all your settings, Pandora included. When you go to the energy setting, that's actually the best part here. So that's for charging. Now, when we go here, we go for flow, which I've been driving watching this, because every car I drive, whether it be an EV or a hybrid, I want to understand how this works. Obviously, your first range is going to be all battery. After it's all battery, let me close this door so we can get that noise out. After you use all battery, within like the last 2 miles, you can see that the engine starts to operate and it actually puts power back into the battery. Now, I have had this thing driving with 0 miles of EV range, and I'll watch this driving and you'll still see battery being used. So I can't tell you exactly how this works exactly, but there are times where it goes battery, there are times it goes engine and battery, and then there are times where it goes engine to the motor. So I'm not really sure how that works, but it's very fun to drive. As you see it here, those wheels spin. They spin while you're driving. Those spins are rotating, and it'll tell you whether or not that power is going back into the battery, that battery is coming, that battery power is going to the motor, or the motor or the engine is sending to the motors which operate the wheels. Trust me, it's very fun. Now, I'm not sure about this, how I feel about it. It's a nice to have, but obviously you don't need it. But, maybe they were thinking of drug dealers. I'm not really sure, but this caught my attention. I mean, listen, I love storage, but I think it's a bit creepy, right? That you have what simulates an entire radio system with a stash underneath. Listen, nice to have, nice to watch, but I'm not sure why. So essentially you press the button, it closes itself, and it lights back up. Really nice. Now, the cup holder is also electric, which again, nice to have, but it goes to the amount of detail that I actually put into this vehicle. I would recommend that anybody who is looking at this car or interested in learning about this car, Jay Leno actually has in his garage the creators of this vehicle, and they'll explain everything from why the vehicle has 20-inch wheels to why the vehicle's spoiler and shape is the way it is. Again, I love learning about cars and things, so just to listen to them explain why the design was the way it was is amazing. But again, they over-engineered in some areas, because you press a button here and it closes itself and it opens itself. Now, I'm right here. I really don't need to be lazy and not do that, but it's a nice to have. Again, it works out the way it does. Now, if you notice, there are paddle shifters. Now, those paddle shifters are not the switch between the tranny. We know the tranny is just, one speed. It operates off motor, so it doesn't shift. That's actually regenerative braking. So you have one on each side. I did not think that I would like on-demand regenerative braking, but let me tell you something. I've learned to love it. Now, your experience might not be my experience. Because I have a hybrid and electric vehicle, I understand regenerative braking. And I play a game with all my vehicles. How can I get the most mileage? Trust me, no one will beat me. I will be driving like Miss Daisy, slow, steady, calm. I don't care who's trying to race around me. I don't care who wants to get by me. I want to get the best mileage I can. And the reason why I want to do that is because I want to save money going to work so I can spend money on all my other toys that go really, really fast. But the regenerative braking on demand, to me, is exceptional. Now, this is a 2014. There are some things that Tesla has that I thought were, just great to have when I had my Tesla. But then when I drove this, I realized they had the same thing. Now, everyone understands automatic high beams, right? Automatic lighting, right? That's nothing new. The lights come on when they don't, when the desk is detected. Now, this is the thing, though, that's very interesting to me. This thing also has high beams. So all cars have high beams. I'm going somewhere with this. But it detects the presence of light in front of you, and the high beams automatically coming on and off without you touching it. Now, again, in cars today, you see it all the time. In 2014, I'm not sure if we saw that outside of Tesla. So the yesterday I drove, and the high beams, when they detect the brake lights in front, they shut off. When they don't detect brake lights in front, they automatically come on. I think that's amazing technology for the year. But to each his own. You also have that's your door handle, so it's a button, but there's also an emergency door handle brake release, as you see right there. And I love Bose, so this has a Bose system, which means they went that extra step. So again, I'm going to get close. I didn't touch it, and that's your info. So it's going to give you basically your lifetime is 56.9, and that's with 80,000 miles, right? I don't think it's bad. And my current MPG, based on the last few days that I've been driving it, is about 50.8. Listen, currently I have 307 total is what it calculates, but that number will increase. The reason being is because when I go to work, I'll charge. When I leave here, I'll charge. So I'll be using more electric. And I've tested the electric with this thing, and I have gotten 50 minutes with just 26 miles. So again, I think that's an awesome feature. And again, just going near it automatically activates it. So I've showed you the flow. I've showed you the charging. You can actually update this. So the charge level, I keep on 8 amps because I also have a Tesla charger too, but you can do a max of 12 amps. You can also do delayed charging. So you see there your next plan. I have immediately, but when you go here, you can change it to delayed based on your departure, or like my Tesla, I charge at 12:30. So I want to make sure I'm getting the best energy rate. So you can actually do the same thing with this. It does come with a charger. I leave it in the charger, but I actually use my Porsche charger to charge this up, and it works just fine. That's on 120. I would be using my 220 right now since my wife isn't here, but unfortunately I left the adapter in my other car, which is at the dealer, so I cannot do that. So overall, you have a few modes here that you can change from. So I'm gonna see if I can see the screen. You actually have touring mode, sport mode, mountain mode. The sport mode obviously is going to use battery, as I believe uses battery as well as your electric. Mountain mode just uses just gas. And in the touring mode, it goes from EV to when that runs out, goes to battery. So I've typically been driving in touring mode. It's worked out really good. You can make a lot of adjustments. Now in this right here, it does have heated steering wheel. This does have if you can see here, where you can regulate the distance, the gap adjustment. So when you put it in cruise control, it automatically adjusts speeds because it senses the vehicle that's in front of it. That would have been an additional option on this. OnStar is no longer supported, even though it did have OnStar back in the day. But I don't care about OnStar anyway. You don't need it. So this is a really nice car. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I might just be saying this because I've only been driving it for a week, but it's very fun to drive. And I want to say it's a lot more fun to drive than my Tesla is, to me. And I don't think that'll change, because again, Tesla to me served its purpose, but I did not like having an all electric vehicle. I like the option of having hybrid, which is why this is my second one. So I definitely would recommend, if you are looking for a car, look no further. There are not a whole lot of these out here. I can honestly say I own a car that they didn't even produce 3,000 of. When I called my insurance company actually couldn't even pull the VIN up. That's how rare this car is. I was able to call Hagerty and register it. I was able to call American Classic and register it. So obviously there are going to be some mileage restrictions when you deal with those companies. But at the end, it's just to tell you how rare this vehicle is. You have a hybrid Cadillac that you can actually register as a classic vehicle. So again, my recommendation, if you're in the market looking for something like this, it's been nothing but fun just reading the reviews. It's been nothing but fun watching the people ask me about this car. And let me tell you, this car is amazing. So until next time, just make sure that you do your research. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. I did get a $4,000 EV tax credit with this. So I still got, this is actually the first EV that I ever purchased, because when I bought my Tesla, too many had sold to get the $7,500 tax credit. When I bought my Porsche hybrid, similar situation, too many had sold, so I didn't get any credit. Because they only made 3,000 of this, and I believe only 2,952 sold, I was able to get the $4,000 tax credit on this to make it better. So again, you just push the button, open the door, and you're done. So I'm going to shut her off. And the last thing I want to show you, this was actually a $1,200 option, which kind of separates my cars from some of the ones that I've been looking at on the internet. Look at that leather, that peanut butter leather. Trunk space is adequate. I was able to get 235 pack of water, 4 packs of 12 packs of Snapple apple, and all my groceries in the trunk. So I know people have complained about it being narrow, this, that, and the third. You know, I've learned that people will complain about anything. This thing looks excellent. It's a beautiful looking car, and it doesn't cost me anything for gas. So till next time, if you like my content, forgive me for going off at times, but please don't hesitate to subscribe. Thank you.